Alrighty. Had a few bits of fun with this frickin' thing. Tension. It's amazing. It actually... tension, in case you don't know, which a lot of people don't, it's not a very fancy pants thing. It's a couple of bloody glorified washers and a spring on a screw. That's it. The more you wind the screw, the tighter the spring gets, the tighter the tension gets. Not really rocket science. In fact, I'm not going to pull it out because this is about to run, but your bobbin carrier has literally a piece of spring steel held down by one screw. The tension, permanently set tension of that spring, is the tension for the bottom. But anyway, going to feed through a bit of stuff here. I've had a few issues. It's been breaking the bloody thread, and I believed it was to do with the tension. Interestingly enough, as you lift the foot, there's a knob which completely releases it, and also when you open the side, so you're trying to fix the tension, and you can't work out why it's completely disengaged, but there's a little catch as this, because this whole thing comes from this, and it'll flip right out, and it's got a hinge at the back. And the other one, the old donkey, which I don't think I've shown on this channel yet, has... I don't think it's ever really faced the camera. Can't remember. The whole bloody thing comes off, like the whole piece comes right off altogether. And that's a same brand, but a lot older. And yeah. But anyway, I'll set this up and we'll get it firing. I apologise if the phone falls off because the way these stumps are in this joint, when this thing gets rolling, it starts shaking the floor. But anyway, we'll start off. I always should hold the thread at the back, and I never bloody do as I start. I'm making hand straps for some bags here that I've got. And it's low speed, and safety glasses on in case a needle breaks, and you can probably see the camera vibrating. Now ultimately I've got to wrap these inside out to create, handle straps. And I may need to trim a bit of the excess. What you're seeing now that's being fed through was actually a giant big bundle, like overlapped and overlapped and overlapped again, 8 pieces thick, and then slit down the sides with the scissors. That's why she's sort of rough, because I didn't sort of get it nice and flat before we started rolling, because I was running out of table space and stuff. Yeah. Anyway, as for robotics, imagine, if you will, a sensor, an optical sensor, probably based on the top part that's flying up and down, infrared, transmit LED, and infrared receive. And there we go, we just shot the blooming thing again. And once again, it's got to do with the tension. This thing's been a bitch today. I've tried to look into what's going on in the back of this. I can't see any shit in there, but that's just broken it again. It's actually not that bad, the tension, but I might release and give it a wind and an unwind, and sometimes I sort of floss it back and through because I think there might be fluff that's causing these jam-ups, but I can't see it, and I haven't blown any out even though I've tried. Should have re-engaged. Oh yeah, and that's re-engaged to a ridiculously high level. Okay, so anyway, she's been a little bit of a pain in the arse today. Usually never has this problem. I don't know if it's that I'm just running so exceedingly fast that it's unhappy with that. And But anyway, imagine if you will that this thing doesn't want to be a little bugger. And you have something like this fed through with either a clamp either end and some sort of guide rail running in a groove. You probably need two because it might jam side on, so you need one right and one left. And on top of that, you got another option, which I've just got sitting over yonder, which is basically a magnet that just sits there, and there's some that you can actually put in with screws that just slide across as well. And they will guide the side of your fabric. And trust me, they work exceedingly well. And I don't know if I have test piece from having used one of these. Nah, must have chucked it, but or have I? I don't know how well you see this. Probably not very well at all. I'll get some LED light onto it. See the two little seams there. Notice the consistent distance apart. That was caused by a little $3 wonder known as magnetic seam guide. And that just simply attaches straight on here. It's a magnet, so you don't need to put any screws on. And she runs without a problem. Imagine coupling that with a stitch counter running out of the top of this and relays in place of a foot pedal, and the whole lot just rolls to a set amount of stitches. And you know what you've created? You've created a machine which quite simply can be loaded up, have fabric sat down, it will guide its own fabric through, and it will stitch to a certain length and then stop. At which point you unload it, you reload another piece, you drop the foot down, and you hit the go button again. And you've automated production. Now times that by 15 machines. First of all, I would need mains power, no question about it. But you would have essentially created yourself a factory that would run doing certain things. It might only do straight stitches in a certain way. But then you add on what's known as a linear actuator, which is a glorious way of saying a DC motor with a worm gear. And it can go like this, and this, and this. And all you need is, well, maybe the same little prongs that are under there, or maybe just a pin of some type that hits into a flat plate with a little hole drilled in it. Bang, you've grabbed hold of this. Or, and yes, these things come in handy on occasion, a wood clamp. Or maybe not one that big. Maybe like one of those ones, oh, you know, the black ones they have for big bundles of papers and stuff like that. They often use them in legal stuff. My uncle used to use it all the time for all his legal papers. Something like that. Or maybe even something that's magnetic, so you can turn on and off this electromagnet with a relay, a MOSFET, transistor, maybe even a motor driver, L293D motor driver IC. And Then you'll have the ability to tell it to turn a certain distance. You know, move this forward till it hits this limit switch, which is another thing you have with linear actuators. I have seen an American teacher make a linear actuator complete with limit switches out of an aluminum pie plate, a couple of batteries and a $2 motor. And it worked, and it was fine, and it was good. And all you really need is what they call all thread, which is like an enormous length of, hell, I've even got some, I think, somewhere. It's like an enormous piece of bolt without the head on the end. It's just a shaft that's threaded from one end to the other. And you can get these things meters long. And I don't think 5 foot long, 6 foot long, probably 6.5 foot long you can get these things, I think. You know, and they'll guide things, but what are you going to be saying that's 6.5 foot long? Unless you're trying to make a damn tent, at which point this engine doesn't have the power to punch through canvas. Trust me, it'll burn it out in a few hours. So anyway, that's just a bit of food for thought about what's out there, what can be done, you know, and you know, how things can roll if you really put your mind to it. You don't always need a seamstress or whatever to go ahead and do it. You might need some better quality cotton. This is supposed to be super strength polyester. I don't know if it's this thing or just the shit cotton or what's going on, but, well, thread, polyester thread, so it's not cotton thread. By the way, you when you buy an old machine, of course, you know, your bobbins, the previous user has a lot of stuff on the bobbins, and sometimes the previous user tries some glorious things like putting 5 lots of different thread on one bobbin for no real reason. And some of these are cotton, and you know, they've been on there for 15 years, and you know, it's been sitting in the cupboard for 15 years, so we might as well sell it now. And this thread is rubbish. So when you're using old bobbins, you got to actually give it a bit of a pull, because some of it will snap like you wouldn't believe. Snap like newspaper tears. And I've sewn up a few things just experimenting, and then gave it a bit of a yank, and just seeing the whole lot blow out. So there's nothing like spending $1 and quite possibly just getting rid of all the old stuff that they had. That's you probably can't see it. That's what happens when you don't hold the back, is sometimes pull it through and rethread it into the start of the front, but it doesn't matter because you've got to clip them threads anyways. But anyway, that's just a bit of food for thought on you guys, for you guys. I don't know how well you can get me torch again. Got a great lot of light from the back, but it's not really helping you see the front. And you might be able to see some of the little seams there. Anyway, you saw it getting made, so yeah.